All right, welcome back to day 18 of 60 Days to Automate Challenge. And this week has been all about sales automations. We learned how to do prospecting using AI and Exa AI for web research. We hooked up our sales information yesterday to Airtable, and we showed how to also start collecting leads from your website using a chatbot instead of forms. And today we're going to be talking all about emails, and in particular sales emails. At the end of the day, for better or for worse, email's still the primary way that businesses communicate with each other. So today we're really going to be focusing on how we can create personalized emails using AI. I'm going to share with you a basic email template that I use for different nurturing sequences and just creating nice personalized emails. We're also going to create some nurture sequences for services like Apollo, Instantly, and Clay. A lot of these tools have AI generated copy, but using this method, you're going to be able to utilize your company information and a lot more information to create really personalized emails. And then we're going to learn later this week how to then make those better based off of what gets replies and what gets responses. And also too, we're going to talk a little bit about how we can create an automated follow-up to book that call. So when you have these outbound sequences going out, when you actually get a reply, you want to jump on that as quickly as possible. And we're going to create an AI that can quickly send over a link to book some time on the calendar for your AE or sales team. All right, so why create? So there are a few different ways you can create nurturing sequences. You can create them so when you get a new follower or subscriber or someone who has joined your community, you want to nurture them. They're new members, they're new to whatever you're, maybe a community you're trying to start, maybe it's your product. You want to, help them along the way, be their guide, be their Obi-Wan, be their Gandalf. And you can do that through emails. And, this takes a lot of nuance and a lot of trial and error to get this right, so that you don't annoy your newfound, followers or community members, but really give them valuable information that can really help them get the most out of whatever they've just signed up for. Then also too, you want to implement sequences for any, if you wanted to create a personalized automation for after an event. Maybe you go to a conference, you get a bunch of business cards that you import. You don't want it to be like, thank you for, I met you at blah, blah, blah. It's like, hey, we actually talked about these things. You can quickly just jot down some notes and create these sequences that can create really nice personalized emails to catch back up. And then, of course, you want to automate lead nurturing for any sales funnels, to either acquire new clients or to grow your current client base. These are great methods to be able to, when someone downloads a white paper and gives you the email and you create these landing pages, you want to put them in a sequence that can help give them more valuable information related to what they gave you their email in the first place for. So for instance, if someone comes in for one of your services, say you have a business that does, painting houses and mowing lawns. If they came in through the painting ad or through content you're making through painting, then you want to show them more, here's how to prepare for painting. Here's what you need to be thinking about when evaluating other painters. These types of email sequences where you're kind of helping them depending on where they came through in your funnel and where they came, how they came to you, can be hugely beneficial to, just being there as a guide, not as someone who's saying, hey, book some time with me. That's not what we're looking for here. So let's start off by talking about an email template that I use that I'm always evolving on, and that has helped me to close millions of dollars of business. And what I want to show you is, let me jump into AnswerAI here. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a sidekick here that can generate any email that I want based off of this template and based off of the information that is available to me about a particular customer in Airtable. So to do that, what we're going to do is start first, we're going to create a, it's called an LLM chain. So let me just click on, actually, we're going to use a conversation chain here so that we can interact with it and chat with it and iterate on the email. All right, to create that, we're going to drop over our conversation chain. We have a prompt template, and we're also going to grab under chat models. We're going to use, for this one, we'll use OpenAI. All right. So we'll connect them all up. So we have chat to chat here in the conversation chain. And then we have this prompt template. We're going to drag this over here to the chat prompt template. Oh, there we go. Oh, we need an actual chat prompt template, not a prompt template. And one last thing, we're going to add some memory so that it knows what we're talking about when we respond. So this is what stores the chat history. All right, we're going to use 4.0, the latest there. And I'm going to save this. I'm going to call this personalized email generator. Personalized email generator. Okay. All right, we have our personalized email generator here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put in this prompt. And I'm going to go over what it says. And this is where you can kind of use this as a starting template. Sometimes it's pretty long. You want these to be pretty short depending on the context of what you're actually doing. But here's this one. So system message is, you are tasked with creating a personalized email template for a nurturing sequence aimed at engaging potential clients. This template should be adaptable for various recipients while maintaining a friendly and professional tone. Here's the structure your email template should follow. Greeting, introduction and context, addressing the pain point, introducing the product service as a solution, benefits specific to the recipient's industry, call to action, and closing. Now, this is a lot to put in here. You want to make this as short as possible. If you can get this in 1 or 2 sentences, 3 sentences, that's the best. You do not want this to be a giant paragraph, especially if you're doing cold outbound. They don't get read. So then we have here some of the different variables that we're going to put in. So we have the recipient name, we have the company name, we have the industry, the product or service that we're selling, we have the pain point, and we have the call to action. So here we have all of these that we're going to pass in to the generator, either through Airtable, if we want to generate these in mass, or it's going to ask us, which is how I'm going to prompt it now. Or I'm going to just hard code them in here right now, which you'll see. So guidelines for tone and content. So maintain a friendly yet professional tone throughout the email. Be concise and to the point, respecting the recipient's time. Show understanding of the recipient's industry and challenges. So, hey, I get you. And avoid using jargon unless it's common in this industry. When highlighting the product service benefits, clearly explain how it addresses the pain point. Once again, being concise. Provide specific examples or data points relevant to the industry, and focus on the value proposition for the recipient's company. And this is where we can use a lot of the research that we did in day 16 to inform what their pain points are, what their challenges have been, and whatever your product or service can solve. And then we have a clear call to action that's easy to follow, make sure it's relevant to the stage of the nurturing sequence, and create a sense of urgency or importance without being pushy. So then down here we have these, present your final template, email template. Use the variables as placeholders in your template, keeping the curly braces and variable names intact. So this is where you can either instruct it. So because this is used in a lot of my automated sequences that I then put into Apollo, I give it the same, I want to keep those variable names in there. However, if you're going to be sending these in mass and you want to kind of give general guidelines, then that's when you can just have it go ahead and give you so I'm going to actually replace this for the purposes of this. Replace the variables with the values passed in and naturally weave them into the email. And we can go back to this when we actually create these sequences for Apollo, which we'll do here. But we just want to see what the email looks like for right now. And then we give it some more goals here, and we're going to hit save. So here we now have this, and what we're going to do is we're going to the human message. So this is going to be what the user puts in. So this is, let's say, user input, and that's that. So we have all of our variable names here. We have recipient name, company name, industry, the product or service that we're selling, the pain point, and the call to action. And then we have the user endpoint. Lots of information here. But when we push this in here, we can say, here's the recipient name. I'm going to put my name and the company name. Let's put last rev. Then for the industry, let's save some of these. I'm going to say technology, my product or service. We'll come back to that actually. Actually, I'm going to put something in here. I'm just going to say travel services. This is where we'd pass in all of the FAQs and all of that stuff. Say pain points, large company, lots of remote workers, needs help planning. All right. Call to action, book a call on my calendar. I was going to say /Bradley. All right, and for the user input, I'm just going to change this, and that's the question that was put in here. So right now, I'm just kind of hard coding this just so that we can kind of see what this looks like. So now I can come in here and I can just say, write the email. So here we're kind of giving a very generic email. It's like, hey, it's personalized, but it's still generic. Hi, Bradley. Hope this message finds you well. As the demands of modern technology continue to evolve, I understand your unique challenges that leaders at Last Rev face, especially when managing a large company with numerous remote workers. Coordinating travel plans for a dispersed team can indeed be daunting and time-consuming. Now, this is where we can take in the information about what was said. So, because if you remember from yesterday, we went in and these were the notes from yesterday. At Travel Smart AI, we haven't given the information. We specialize in travel services designed specifically for tech companies like yours. Our solutions are tailored to address the complexities of remote workforce travel planning, allowing you to focus on what you do best. Here's how we can make a difference. Efficient coordination, cost-effective options, seamless integration. Now, this is a pretty long email. Depends on what your needs are, but if you're just trying to get a meeting, if you're just trying to get something, you probably want to make it very quick. However, do you notice how it just naturally weaves in the pain points? It naturally weaves in the fact that they're in tech, that they have remote workers in a couple of different places. This isn't just, hi, insert name. I heard you work in technology or media, like instant archive. But this looks like it's, hey, this knows that I'm a leader at Last Rev. I have a large company, numerous remote workers, and that we're coordinating travel plans, right? All in the first line. The rest of this would be really dependent on what you're really trying to do. But purposes of this is to show the automations and let you find out what works best for your audience. But now we have a chatbot that can go in and make an email for us to be able to send out to our prospects. So now what we want to do is now we're going to create a nurturing sequence. So this is going to be a sequence that we want to create for a particular audience over time. So the way we're going to do this, now there's lots of sequencing tools out there. Like I mentioned, we use Apollo. There's a few others. Instantly, Clay is a new one for outbound sales emails. There's nurturing emails for when people sign up for your product, things like that. The goal of this is, those are great products. We use them as well. What we're going to be doing here is how you can create the content for those instead of just using their basic AI generator. That AI generator doesn't know anything about you, your company. It may know what works well for other audiences and that, but it doesn't know what works well for your audience. And that's what we're teaching you to build with this. So to do this, we're going to hook it up to our Airtable, to our customer table from yesterday. And we're going to now build lightweight sequencing engine using N8N and Airtable and Flowise and AnswerAI. So let's do that. All right, so we have our personalized email generator already here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to jump into N8N. We're going to add a new workflow. This one's going to be day 18, personalized email sequences. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a brand new sequence that will be triggered when a user fills out our lead chatbot form. So if you watched yesterday's video or day 17, we created a chatbot that collected the user's email, their name, and created some notes about it. So if we go into, so if you remember from yesterday, we had this lead capture sidekick where I could come in here and say, I want more information about your personalized itineraries. So it'll go through here, it'll ask some information. I have lots of people that are located around the world, and we need to have an offsite on the cheap in January. About the number of participants, let's say 30 people, and will require lots of alcohol. Will require a common area where we can have meetings. So we go through there. I'm not going to rehash what we did yesterday, but I'm just getting another piece of content in here. Sure, my name is Brad at lastrev.com. All right. Oh, no. Yep, we forgot to turn on the workflow. Let's just go and make sure that workflow is turned on, which was lead capture. Here we go. That's all this workflow is from yesterday. Pretty easy peasy. So now we go in here and we just say try again. I had an error on that. It's because we never launched the Airtable after it. It's still using the test webhook. All right. Say try again. So here we have Bradley, my email notes. We have what we did yesterday in there. Pain point, has limited budget, has employees that need to be flown in from across the world. So here we're kind of storing this information. So now I want to create a follow-up email for anyone, and I'm going to add a couple more in here. So I'm going to say John at somecompany.com, really cool customer. This one's going to be a happy customer for, I don't know, let's say Tesla in the industry of technology or car companies, and pain points. We'll leave that blank. We're just putting it in here just so I can show you this next place. Because what we want to do is we want to say, hey, if anyone who's the status of a prospect, right? And they've created a brand new lead. What we're going to do is we're going to put them into a sequence. So we're going to say prospects here. What this is going to do is this is going to give us a view that we can check to see if we have any information. What I can do is create this filter. I add a condition and I say where the status is prospect. So that way when new contacts come in and they're added as a prospect, they'll be put into this view. So now we're going to take this view and we're going to create a sequence that will send them a welcome email personalized to them. And then in the next one, we'll schedule when we want to follow up with them. So first thing is the welcome email. And once again, this is how you could send these and set these sequences up and others and just use this for the content. All right. So we're going to have this for right now. We're just going to trigger it manually. We're going to put this on something that runs every 5 minutes on a scheduled job here and when we release it. But for now, we'll just test it by clicking on it. What we want to do is we want to go to Airtable and we're going to search records. And here we can choose our Airtable access token. We can choose the base, which is Travel Smart AI. The table we're going to choose is going to be customers. And this goes in the naming convention. Normally you'd have leads, customers. I've been in way too many meetings to have the about what to call different stages. But for the purposes of this, we're just going to call these all customers. And here we can test it, and we're given both of these actually. So because we did not filter it by a view, so here it's getting all of the records in the customers table. So here we want to choose add option under the options area and then click on view. And then from this list, we're going to want to choose prospects. And then when we hit test step, we're only getting this person from Last Rev who has a limited budget and wants to have employees flown in from around the world. So now we want to create an email and I want to personally reach out to them. So I'm going to have it put into draft inbox. I also want to create a personalized sequence that I could use for other items. So let's do those two. So first thing I'm going to do is open this up. And what we want to do is we want to take the information that we got from Airtable and pass it into that template that we just created. So to do that, we're going to use the HTTP request node. And if you remember, we have this little fun import to URL button. So in order to get that for this, for our generator sidekick, so generator, personalized email generator, we're going to go in here and we're going to add this curl. So here it's going to give us our basics. However, one of the things that we have not done yet is pass in these variables. And this is one of the benefits of adding this. We can add these as variables. And I want to show you this technique through this. Like I said, with any automation, there's probably 100 ways to do any certain automation. My goals of this whole class is to just show you various different ways you can accomplish these. Now I could come in here and I could pass all of this into the question, but here, if you remember, we created these variables for recipient name, company name, industry, product service, pain point, call to action, and user input. And this just gives you flexibility to be able to do more nuanced prompting and really just get the most out of being able to have very specific prompts. So to do that, we go in here and I'm going to copy in. So go back over here to this curl and I could copy this one, but if I choose this show input config here in Flowise, it's going to show me all of the different names for how I can overwrite them. So one of the nice things we like about Flowise and why we chose it as the builder tool for AnswerAI is because you can overwrite anything from the outside. And why is that powerful? Well, in this case, we're going to be pulling in all the information for the recipient's name, the industry, all of that stuff. We can pass that information over, which allows us to do bulk jobs. So for instance, we have 1,000 prospects we need to go through. We can templatize this and push it through. So how do we do that? Well, we come in here and we grab this little copy button right here because what we're looking for is this override config. And the override config variable is where you can pass in something that looks like this, where it's a name value pair. And I'm going to show you how we can pass those in. So I'm going to import that into, here we go. All right. So what it did here is it has the question. So the question is always what the person said. And in this case, all we're going to say is write the email. We could even just pass in, I think, an empty string in this, and it would do it. Here you could add additional information. Maybe you want to write the email, focus on X, Y, and Z. We're going to be doing these in mass. So what we want to do is just, hey, write the email. Then in the override config, we have a few different variables here. Now, the one we're going to be looking for is the chat prompt template. So here, let me zoom out a little bit. We have this chat prompt template. And if you open up any of these, you can see these labels and then the name. So this allows you to override any value. I'm not going to go into each and every single one of these. The one I'm really going to focus on is this prompt values. And to use this, all I have to do, if I want to overwrite the system message, the human message, all of these values in here can be overwritten. But really the only thing that I want to overwrite are the recipient's company name, the industry, and all of these things. So we go into our N8N, and I'm just going to remove some of these here. And we're going to call this, we're going to use this prompt values tag right here. And if you notice, it's type JSON. If you're this far in the course, you should know what JSON is. It's our friend. It's how we can send structured content across various platforms. So we're going to choose prompt values here, and we're going to paste it right here. And then instead of this little example string here, we're going to do an open curly brace and a closing curly brace. So it looks like this. So you can see how we have open, closing. Whenever you're working with JSON, open and closing curly braces. So now what goes inside of here? Well, that's where you go in and you use these. So we have recipient name, and they're all going to follow this same pattern. I'm actually going to put that pattern under here so you can see it. It's double quote, whatever the tag name is, then a double quote, then a colon, and then double quote. And since I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I'm going to copy those over so it's easier for me to then copy and replace. All right, so now that I have this, I can just copy them over. So company name. All right, so now I have all of the names for this. Well, what goes in the value? Well, these are the Airtable values. So now that I have all of this, I can simply just drag them over for their different areas. So I can drag industry into industry. There we go. And as you can see over here on the right, it replaces that information. So we're going to go in here. We're going to say we're going to drag pain point to pain points. We're going to hold off on product or service. We're going to give it a name. So where's the name, company name? And then our call to action is going to be, we'll say schedule a call on. So this is where you can have a list. Hey, what are the different call to actions? Do you want them to go to a landing page? Do you want them to schedule a call on your Calendly? This is where you can change it per email as well too, based off of what stage they're in the campaign. So now we have all our personalized information about the customer. Now we need to put in the information about the product or service that we are offering. So to do that, what we can do is we can close this out. And what we'll want to do is before we get our Airtable records, we're going to want to get our Google Doc that has all the good old information about all of our services and who we are. And we have that in this Travel Smart AI overview. I can just choose my account, reference the document, get it. Oh, says it's already running. Why is it already running? All right, test that step. There's our Travel Smart content. So now what we need to do is First, before we do anything, let's test to make sure that this is actually running. So one of the things that I know I'm going to need to do is first, because I didn't put an API key on this, I need to open this up and share it and make it public. Now, if I go in and I say test workflow, it should generate an email. I don't know what service it's going to think. Hey, discover how we can help your agency thrive, Bradley. I hope this email finds you well. Yes, it got the information. Our product and service is designed to optimize your budget and streamline travel arrangements, making it easier and more cost effective. So now let's add in here. So we know that it's generating the email, and I'll show you why here in a second. So we have our Google Docs, we have our content, and we're going to pull that into here. So now we're going to save this, and now it should give much more specific. It shouldn't just put product or service in brackets. It should actually have the product or service. So now we're going to go ahead and test this workflow. JSON parameter need to be and valid JSON. So this is something you may come across a lot in your automation experience. So one of the things that when you're putting in large documents, things like that, what you're going to do is you're going to break this JSON. So what's probably breaking this is the fact that these are all on new lines. JSON doesn't like that. So how do we actually get this to work? Well, that's where you need to do a little bit of finessing right here to ensure that it does not have any of the different special characters that are sometimes involved in here. And I bring this up because this is something that literally probably took me about 4 hours yesterday to figure out. So I'm sharing it with you today and how I fixed it. So essentially what I had to do was, and I'll put all of this at digitalatScale.com for you to be able to download. But if you ever get this error and you're passing in content from like a Google Doc or something like that, what you can do is, let's see, product service. There we go. So I added this thing, it's like .replace, and what it's doing is it's essentially replacing all of the next lines, the special characters, these things that basically would break JSON and break the format. So if you notice, once I did that, if you notice there on the, it kind of went from that to, so it cleared out all those lines and made it as one string. AI doesn't care how it's formatted. It really doesn't. So putting it all on one line is fine. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to save this and I'm going to test this workflow, and boom. Now we have an email template and we're using the information from our document and it's not breaking it. So I just saved you probably a half a day. Thank me later. So you can now see in here, we have the subject, hi Bradley, we have this email that can now be sent out. Now, how do we hook this up and how do we create this to some sort of automated sequence? Well, we can go in here and we can adjust the template to give us multiple sequences. And this is the one that I use for that. I'm not going to go over all of this, but this is one that you can see that I use as a chatbot template that has overview, value props, the different personas, the different features. All of this information I'll share with you at digitalatScale.com. But one of the things that this does is I can actually come in here and I can edit these or pass them in. And then what this creates is a integrated sequence. So here I have the overview, any important links, the input, like what the person wants, the variable names, the value props, the different personas, the content, and then the AnswerAI features. So one of the things that I can do is create an email for IT professionals. Actually, I have all of this information right here. So for instance, IT manager, and once again, we showed how in previous ones you can pass this in using Airtable. But when you come in here and I say, give me the sequence, all right. So the way that this one works is that it will decide the target persona and the main goal of the sequence. So it kind of says, hey, which of the target personas, and this is how I work with it, is basically I'll be like, let's do technology-centric companies for technical roles, and the goal is to deploy AnswerAI in their org. So basically what I have it do beforehand as well, and this kind of goes into prompting techniques, is I always have it write out at the top what its goals are, what it should be doing. And then the way that this works is that, as you can see here, it's creating 5 different subject lines for me to A/B test. It's creating a very short, succinct. So let's just look at the top here. So based on your focus of technology-centric industries that recently received funding and those actively hiring in technical roles, along with the goal to deploy AnswerAI in their organizations, it seems the IT manager persona for a small company is the most suitable target. So it's saying, hey, I'm making the decision for you that this is the target, because I have lots of different target personas. What we want the IT manager to do. So this is very important, right? Why are you sending them an email? Do you want them to book time on your calendar? Do you want them to download a white paper? Do you want them to click on your video? What is the thing that you want them to do? So last drive, say AnswerAI can automate key business processes, enhancing efficiency. Oh no, that's no. We want to schedule a meeting. What they want them to know, and then what they want them to feel. I always take this kind of, what do you want your target person, what do you want them to do, know, and feel? So then it goes through here and say, A1, send subject lines, revolutionize your tech stack overnight. Here's how, and why your next hire should be AI powered. And as you can see here, we have very short, because the goal is to get them to just click or be able to, ideally in some of these, this one schedule a meeting, but most of them I'm sending to a landing page now with the chatbot, with the lead gen chatbot, so that I can get more information about what questions they have if they do. It's been a game changer. All right, so as you can see here, it tells us send this on day 3, send this on day 7. And now I can quickly, and it puts these different variables in here, which are exactly what, how they are in Apollo. So I can easily copy these and put them in there. Apollo doesn't have an API for just putting sequences in there. Please, I hope that they do have an API. If you know of an outbound sequencing tool like Apollo that does have an API to create sequences, comment below. So that's how you can create an email sequence. And I'll put this prompt as well as the other email sequence creator that we just created in the notes at digitalatscale.com. All right. So now that we've created a personalized email, now we've, know how to create nurturing sequences. Now we want to create automated follow-ups. So when someone actually does come onto our site and they become a prospect, how can we set a date so that at a certain time they're going to get just a gentle nudge to maybe contact you or get in touch? So that's what we're going to do next. So in order to do that, we're going to, let me see here, go back into N8N. And here we have this, we're grabbing the prospects, and this is going to send the welcome email, right? So I'm going to copy this whole thing, and this time I'm going to choose a different view. And I'm going to add something to my table that says last contact date, and I'm going to make it a date field. And I'm going to say create field. I'm going to say the last contact date was last week. So what we want to do, let's say last Tuesday. What we want to do is we want to create a new one. And we're going to call this follow-up. This new view down on the bottom left in Airtable. So when we create follow-up, we now have this table here and this new field for follow-up date. So up in the filters, what we're going to want to do is we're going to say, well, we want a condition where the status is a prospect and last contact date is before 1 week ago. And what that's going to do is it's going to say, hey, when we haven't had a contact date, and this is where you want to set it up with like HubSpot and things like that to track those. Those are better, but I want to show you how you can DIY it yourself. So you have this follow-up, you have prospects. So this is now in this view. If I move this and I change this to say yesterday, boom, go to follow-up, nobody's in there. So let's change it back to the 5th. All right, so now we're going to go in here, and this time instead of grabbing the prospects, we're going to grab this new follow-up. We test the step, got that, great. We got our one follow-up, and then here we're just going to send a new one, write a follow-up email. Now this is where you can get really creative. You can get get the email that you sent them last from Gmail. You could add some more context about what you're following up from. But one of the things that you want to do is to make sure that you're sending them out there. And then also too, when you get someone replied, which we'll show here in just a minute. So we're going to say create follow-up email. I'm not going to worry too much about the prompting. I spent a lot of time on prompting in this session. So we're just going to use the same prompt and really focus on setting this up. So here, I'm just going to copy this, remove this down here so I can test it. And now let's save this. So now it's going to do the same thing. It's going to do it. It'll probably sound like a follow-up email, but that's one way. So putting them into the list so that when they hit that date, you can follow up. The other way you can follow up, which we're going to do, is when you get an email in a particular label. And if you remember from day 6, we have this handy dandy draft an email reply by label. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this out. Let's just copy this. And I'm going to go back over to our day 18. So here, now typically if I was sending outbound emails, they're going to be on a particular email address. So you wouldn't have to do it by label. It would just be anyone that replies to any of your emails. But since this is a general purpose email, I'm going to just go in here. And so, all right, the mail comes in. And what we're going to do, so we already have our basic LLM chain. We could replace this with an AnswerAI bot. I like to centralize all mine prompts and everything and data in AnswerAI. That's why I do that. But you can use either one. So then basic LLM chain. Yes. So now we're going to copy this over and we're going to go into our Gmail and we're going to create a label called auto sales reply. And I'm going to go ahead and send an email. As you can see, I have gotten into lots of nurturing campaigns from all of the services that we have signed up for this 60-day challenge. So now I'm going to send an email. All right. So we just got a new email from Brad Taylor. I want to travel to Europe. What we're going to do is we're going to actually put this over here to the auto sales reply. So this is where you could use what we learned in day 6 to analyze your emails, auto label them based off of what's there. It's a lot easier when you have an outbound already because you can say anyone that replies to these, you can then put that into a label. So like I said, when you're sending these out, you're probably doing it through a special email or a whole different domain together, but make it so that anything that gets replied gets its own label. And if you need a refresher on how to set up labels, that's in day 6. So now that we have this label, we're going to go in and we're going to update this Gmail node. And we're going to have to probably update my credentials because it's been longer than 7 days. So let's do that. All right, just had to sign back in. We have here, signed in with Google and all that. I've already connected. So now that I've done that, I can now grab, come on, there we go. So not the support email, we're gonna grab the auto sales reply emails. So we're gonna test this step. We got the mail, and this is where once you start building automations, they can just start to build on them on themselves. So now we have this and it's creating the email. Here's a suggested response. I want to travel to Europe. Thanks for reaching out. Now let's go in and let's grab this. So instead of sending it to here, which we have. All right. We're going to use our responder, and we're also going to get the document of what we do. And I'm going to get the user as well. All right. So we're going to test this. And what it's going to do is it's going to grab our Travel Smart AI document about who we are. It's then going to get all the messages. It's then going to search for the prospects. And then we're going to pass in this plus the message, write a reply to this message with that. So before we do that, we have to hit test workflow so that we can get all of these aligned. Grab it. There we go. It failed because we didn't have this. All right. So what we're going to do is it does not have our product or service. So why not? Because we have Google Docs 2, not 1. And then here, I'm going to change it. I'm going to say write a follow-up email or a reply email. And we're going to actually put in the Gmail. And we're going to put that right here. So once again, because this is something that's probably going to have special characters in it, I'm going to use this special little trick that I taught you earlier. So right here, we're going to copy this. And we're going to put it at the end of this text as well. So it puts it all in one line. All right. So now we have to update one last thing here, because if somebody sends us an email, we want to get back all of the information that they got. We don't want to get back just the prospects here. What we want to do is we want to get the actual record for that email. So let's make sure. No, I'm just going to copy over some of these options here just so that I should have just changed it here. Oh, well. Let's just do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to the email that I sent it at. That way I can simply just the record from it. I'm going to know that they want a tropical location, but in my email I said I wanted to go to Europe. So let's see how it handles that, especially in January. So status, there we go. So now in here, instead of searching from a particular view, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get a record from the table. Actually, cool. So what we did here is we changed it from searching from a particular view to searching by where email equals the address of the person who sent the email. So that way we can get the notes, what they sent an email, but now they also did the chatbot yesterday. So this is going to help you to start to create a history of your customer, which will become very important when we get into the customer support week. All right. So now everything else should be the same. Now when we test this workflow. All right. So here, subject, streamline your European travel with Travel Smart. Thank you for reaching out. Traveling to Europe with a busy schedule and numerous meetings can be quite a task. And that's exactly where Travel Smart AI can make a difference. It did mention tailored suggestions, Calendly, can make your European travel. So it created this one. And now I can either send this and I can put this into my Gmail. So for instance, if I wanted to put this as a draft, I can simply just say Gmail, create a draft, and we have my Gmail create. And here we can just choose reply to this subject. Email type is text, and our text is going to be this. Test this step. And when we go into our Gmail, I now have a personalized email that I can now quickly edit and send off and hopefully close that deal. All right. So that's it. So we talked about personalized emails today. We showed how you can do templates. We showed how you can do sequences and how you can create automated sales replies so you can instantly get back to those prospects so you can close that deal quickly. So tomorrow we're going to talk about after you've landed that call, after you've pitched your service or your product, how do you create a sales proposal that's also personalized to what they talked about on the meeting and by basically taking a transcript and turning that into a personalized sales proposal based off a template? Well, that's what we're going to learn tomorrow. So once again, thank you for joining me today. If you found this content valuable, please share it with your friends and those who are interested in AI and automation. and I will see you next time.